Hello, 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 and welcome, replay viewers. It is Una Doyle here, and stay tuned to find out more about 3 toxic money myths. Oops, let me turn this down. I really need to do this before I come live, don't I? Anyway, 3 toxic money myths that hold creatives back. That is what we are talking about here today. So please remember to give me some hearts and let me know what you are thinking about, what we're talking about, and also remember to share this out. I'm on a mission to help creative business owners, particularly those who have service-based businesses like designers, animators, photographers, marketing digital consultants, copywriters, etc. You get the drill. So what is it about these toxic money myths? The thing is that we all have conditioning. We are all, affected and influenced as we grow up by society at large, by our families, by the media. All of these things are giving us messages all the time. And particularly when we're young, we're like sponges and just, absorb everything that we're exposed to. And the thing is that I know that many creatives that I meet, many creative business owners that I'm working with, that I'm talking with, they're nice. And they want to be nice. They want to help people. However, these money myths can cause this toxic relationship with money that can cause them to not really go and achieve their dreams in the way that they could. And, because they don't want to feel like they're selling out or that, they're selling their soul in some way. So, I'm going to tell you what the 3 myths are, and then I'm going to introduce myself, and then we're going to get into each of them in turn. So I want you to tell me, let me know in the comments, which of these do you think is the biggest challenge for you? And let me know if have you kind of overcome some of the others, or in what way do you see these affecting you? So the first one is there's not enough. So that's basically if one person gets some, somebody else loses some. And the second toxic money myth is there's not enough. I beg your pardon, is more is better. And the third toxic money myth is that's just the way it is. All right, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Una Doyle. I'm the founder of Creative Flow TV, and I'm a business coach and a strategist, and I help creative service providers to grow their businesses and discover how to run their business best in their way so they can confidently and profitably stand out from the crowd. And that often means things like raising their prices or making themselves more visible. And perhaps it's about growing their team and making sure that they're doing that in the right way, that they don't kind of fall foul of, kind of team situations or quality issues, etc., etc. And the thing is, it's always about the inner work, about our thoughts and beliefs and behaviours, as well as what I call the outer work around skills and strategies. Now, before I go into the 3 toxic money myths, I want you to think about what does money mean to you? And it's a really interesting thing, because when I first was asked the question, what is your relationship with money? If money was a person, if money was a friend, how would you describe that relationship? And it was not good in those days. Sorry, just trying to straighten my glasses. I always do it the wrong way around. Here we go. I think I have crooked ears. So the thing is that it's when you look at your relationship with money, it's interesting to see how it shows up in different ways of your life. So if you don't have as much money as you would like to have, then that is probably a result of some of these beliefs and it causing you not to act in ways or to act in other ways. So let's have a look at this first one. There's not enough. Is that something that you believe? Is that something that maybe in theory you think, well, yeah, it'd be nice to think that there's always enough, but yeah, no, it's, if I win a contract, then somebody else doesn't win that contract. If I get that client, somebody else doesn't. If I don't get it and someone else does, well, there's not enough to go round. And there's something about the idea of there's not enough that actually affects us, that makes us come from a place of lack and a place of scarcity. And when we do that, that is not serving us, and it's also not serving our clients, our family, our friends, etc. Because the thing is, when you look in nature, there is always enough. And, we have created this idea of there not being enough because we have so many attachments to what money is and to what being wealthy is. I've worked with a couple of clients this week who have said, oh, well, wealthy people are all bleep, bleep, bleep. And it's like, well, really? Do you know every single wealthy person in the world? No, of course not. Where did they learn those things? Well, maybe they just picked it up from society, maybe not. You see, the root of the word wealthy actually is all about well-being. It's not just about large amounts of money. It's about living a rich and fulfilling, a satisfying life. But that's not necessarily what people think about when they think about wealth. And, really, money started off just being as a means of exchange. It's like people were bartering and trading with each other. Communities were able to start traveling as, the human race evolved. And it meant that whereas in the beginning, as we still see in those very few kind of tribes and communities, that there are actually some that don't have any money and everybody just helps everybody else. It's all about collaboration. I help you, you help me when I need it. And that's how they operate. And I think there's something about, feeling like there isn't enough. I think that often is reflected in ourselves as well. It's reflected in I'm not enough. And if you're feeling that, then it's very easy to think, well, there's not enough for me. Okay. So I'd love to know, do let me know if is this resonating with you? Do you feel like this now? Have you ever felt like this in the past? And, what difference do you think that has made to how you run your business and to your level of satisfaction and, success in life? And I don't necessarily mean, your levels of money, but just, how you think it's actually affecting you. Okay. So, the second one I think is really interesting because particularly when you're coming from a place of lack and a place of not feeling good enough, it's really easy to get trapped into this whole thing about, well, earning loads of money and being able to buy loads of things is going to fill that hole in me. It's going to make me look good in front of other people. So then I get their admiration and approval. I think it's easy to think that, having more money is the answer. Yes, there are many wealthy people who are not happy, who have lots of money, yet they don't have a sense of fulfillment either. And so, when you believe that more is better, there's another way of looking at it instead, which is really about sufficiency. And I'm going to do another live, because what's happened is, actually, let me just explain. Yesterday I did a live with some other people where we were asked to share the book we thought that everybody ought to read. And I shared this one, The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. And I thought, I went over to my bookcase that I was just over there, and I looked and I was like, what am I drawn to? Because there's so many amazing books that I could share. And it was this was the one that jumped out at me, and I haven't read it in a while, so I'm now rereading it. So I'm going to share some things from it as I go through, and I think it's wonderful to reread some very, kind of foundational principle-based books again and again, every year or two, just because we're reading it from a different place. Okay, that our perspective is different. So, Steve's just saying, some people say money is the root of all evil, but they're missing a bit. Oh, hang on, that just flashed off my screen. Hang on again. They're missing a bit. The love of money is the root of all evil is the full quote. Well, the interesting thing is that, if you don't love money, you're going to repel it in some way. And I remember somebody on a webinar once saying, as soon as I get money, I have to get rid of it. I feel so uncomfortable. And, you may unconsciously be feeling like that. And so when, so it's not the love of money necessarily. It's really wanting to do things to excess because it's actually overcompensating for something else. So, and that's really, how you feel about yourself and how much you care about what other people think about you. And I thought it was really interesting, the story that Lynn shared. Well, she shared many, but this lady is a fundraiser, and she's worked extensively with the Hunger Project, which is all about eradicating world hunger, and in doing so in a way that empowers people rather than just giving aid, which actually can be disempowering to people. So the thing is like she was in the situation where her husband was earning lots of money and growing in how much he was earning. And at that time, she just volunteered doing fundraising. She didn't get paid for it because she had her own issues around money at the time. But eventually they realized that they weren't living the life that was aligned with their values. And they decided to change the focus in the money they were earning. So I'm not talking about going, don't earn loads of money. It's not about that. It's about it's about your relationship with money and how you use it in your life. So what they do now is they do a lot of giving. And it's not just about putting, kind of going, oh, here, have this money. It's about being aligned with your values. It's about having a fulfilling life. And you might be feeling, oh, well, that's all very well for people who have lots of money, but I don't have enough yet. Well, I guarantee you, eliminating these 3 toxic myths from your life will make a massive difference in doing that. So let me I just want to share with you one of the things that, that she said in terms of the more is better. So she says here, when we buy into the promise that more is better, we can never arrive. Because it's a chase, and it's a never-ending chase. And what she saw, she was dealing with the wealthiest people in the world and also the poorest people in the world in terms of resources. And she saw that happiness was nothing to do with how much money you had, and everything to do with how you felt about yourself and the kind of life that you were living. We all desire a life of meaning. And the wonderful thing is that a lot of creative business owners, they get meaning from being able to share their creative gifts. Yet, if they have issues around money, then either that can lead to them undervaluing their work and therefore themselves, and therefore money stresses and things like that. And that's really what I want you to avoid. Another thing she says is our drive to enlarge our net worth turns us away from discovering and deepening our self-worth. And I just think that's a really interesting perspective. And the thing is, it's interesting. I am working towards being a millionaire, not because I want to have loads of stuff, but because of the person I become in achieving that. And I think that is a great way to look at your life and your achievements is, well, what kind of person do I want to become, and what would that person do? So this is some of the things to think about. Okay, so toxic myth number 3. That's just the way it is. When it's easy to think, oh my God, these problems are just so massive in the world. We can't possibly solve them. It's just the way human beings are, and there's nothing we can do about it. Well, the thing is, people used to think that about lots of things that have been solved since. There was a time once, way back when everybody was getting together and it was all in the papers all the time about how much horse poo there was in all the streets, and it was becoming overwhelming and dangerous from a hygiene point of view because everybody had horses and carriages. And then the world changed and things shifted to cars. Now, of course, that resulted in a different kind of pollution, but we have got the means to solve problems. Now there are batteries, very small, that can run a whole house. So, the whole thing about power consumption, everything, it's changing. And of course, we can all do our bit to help the environment as well. But it's really about the aspect of when we come from a perspective of that's just the way it is, it makes us powerless. It makes us a victim. So yeah, she says here, resignation, which is what happens when people buy into this. Resignation makes us feel hopeless, helpless, and cynical. Resignation also keeps us in line, even at the end of the line, where a lack of money becomes an excuse for holding back from commitment and contributing what we have, time, energy, and creativity, to making a difference. We actually don't have to be millionaires to make an impact on the world. We can do that through our work, through our families, through our friends, through volunteering, through whatever small amounts of contributions we can make. And there was a wonderful story that she shared about she got a donation of $50,000 from a company, but they were trying to do a PR thing to assuage some guilt they had and to, just kind of look better in the public eyes because they'd made some mistakes. And the same day she was in front of a group of people in Brooklyn who didn't have a lot of resources and who happily gave what little they had. And that was so emotional for her because, she could see that they were making a contribution that was meaningful to them, yet this $50,000 was not meaningful, and she actually returned it. And so there are changes that we can make. And when you come from the world view that there's that's just the way it is, then nothing changes. Okay? I just like she says here, in that resignation, we abandon our own human potential and the possibility of contributing to a thriving, equitable, healthy world. And we have to be willing to let go of that's just the way it is. Even just for a moment to consider the possibility that there, isn't a way it is or a way it isn't. There is the way that we choose to act and what we choose to make of our circumstances. And I thought it was a great story she shared about I think it was in an African village in the desert. It was actually out in the desert, and this community, the desert was getting more and more sandy and bad weather kind of thing. I'm not probably explaining it right, but you get the idea. They had a lot of challenges, and it was they weren't sure what to do. Yet these people They weren't looking to just have handouts. They wanted to solve the problem. And she felt that the women, she could feel the energy of the women think they had an answer. It was a very traditional situation. The men were kind of all around and the women were behind her, and she was part of a group of people who'd come to visit and try and help. And so she asked to speak to the women, and they said, we know there is water. There is a deep well under here, a very large well, a very large body of water, but we know it's going to take a while to dig down. The men won't listen to us. And so they managed to be able to let them drill down, and they did find that well, and they were able to build pumps over the following years and completely change the whole lifestyle and make everything so much better for themselves. And so it's interesting. I think we often have resources, we have solutions that, I think it's better to look at, well, how can we empower people? How can we empower ourselves to find the solutions that we want to have? Okay, I'm going to, whether it's next week, next Wednesday's show, or whether it's another day during the week, I'll just have a look and see. I will come back because she has three truths. Very hard to say this as an Irish person. 3 truths about sufficiency, which is the opposite of all this lack that we've been talking about here today. And if you're in a situation where you want to, if you found this of value and these myths are resonating with you and you would like to be able to let go of this so you can really move forward and be the best version of yourself, then message me. Either comment below, free call, or message me and we can have a chat about this, because I've got some amazing tool that can help you to let go of this kind of crap that is toxic and that is not helping you to share your gifts in the world in a way that is meaningful, where you get to make a bigger contribution and get to live a more soulful and meaningful life. Because that is really what I want for you. So give me some hearts if that sounds like a good idea for you. Okay, Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching this on the replay, by the way, pop replay down and ask any questions that you have. I'll get a little ping notification, and when I can, I'll come back and answer that for you. Have a fantastic week. I will see you soon. Make sure you've clicked turned on the notifications in following my page, and so that you get to see my other lives as well. And I will see you very soon. Bye.